Hi, I'm Dawson, and I shouldn't be wearing a Marvel t-shirt for this video. 1 second. Okay, much better. This video is going to be about the show that everyone's talking about recently. And by everyone, I mean me. And by talking about, I mean endlessly rambling to anybody who will listen to me talk about it. Of course, Peacemaker Season 2. Peacemaker Season 2 just dropped. The first 7 episodes were beloved by pretty much everybody. I loved everything that was done this season, and I was very amped up for the season finale, as most people were, with James Gunn saying that it would be the best thing that he's ever made.
But I will also say that 6 and 8, maybe my favorite things I've ever done. Like, it's like, of all time. Like, it's like some of my favorite stuff ever.
The reaction of the public was a little bit less than ecstatic. Not a lot of people shared James Gunn's enthusiasm for the finale. But that being said, not only do I believe the general public's view of this finale is completely underrated and overhated, I do think this finale is actually a very good episode. So allow me to try to explain to you some of the reasoning why I believe that this was a very good ending for Season 2 of Peacemaker, and possibly for the ending of this show. It should be noted, though, I'm a huge James Gunn fan. Very big James Gunn fan. So that could also sway some things, but no, I just hear me out. Hear me out, okay? Starting with what I think we can all agree is the good from this finale. There is a lot, especially the scene in the motel. Everything that is said there, all of the stuff about how Adebayo especially was impacted by Chris and the things that he has done for all of the 11th Street kids, really. They were a broken group before, and now, because of the inclusion of him, because of the journey they went on in Season 1, they are a family. For better or for worse, they are in this together now. And he is a big proponent of that. And I think this was a great moment for him to realize that, right? This completes his emotional arc as a character. He starts the Suicide Squad out in a very similar situation. We see him being forced together in a group, forced on this mission, and we see how it goes for him. He turns against all of them, follows the orders of Amanda Waller, he kills Rick Flag.
Peacemaker. What a joke.
Right? And it leaves him in the hospital, which leads right into Peacemaker Season 1. This is a great point of comparison that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, is how he approached this whole team thing in the Suicide Squad versus how he is with the 11th Street kids. It's a very similar situation. Both are orchestrated by Waller. Both are against his will. He is there effectively because he's being told to be there. He doesn't want to be there. He has no stake in this mission. He just wants to live his life out in his trailer and be a superhero. Now, if you look at the effects of the 11th Street kids, something has changed in Peacemaker after the Suicide Squad. Instead, he starts embracing these people. He sees that they are as broken as he is, and it makes him feel better. Something about the fact that these characters are more human. They're not all in costumes. They're not all in the superhero world. It doesn't feel like he has to, compare against them. With the Suicide Squad, he was constantly comparing against Bloodsport, things like that, right?
He does exactly what I do.
But better.
I always hit my targets dead center.
I hit them more in the center.
You can't hit something more in the center?
I use smaller bullets.
What?
They go inside your bullet holes without even touching the side.
Trying to one-up them, trying to be the best there. Here, he kind of feels more at home. He doesn't feel like he's comparing, and he forms bonds with them. Adebayo becomes his best friend. Vigilante is someone that he's already been around, but he gets closer with him. Economos, he becomes friends with, and Amelia, he falls for, right? All of these people he builds strong bonds with. And over the course of that season, we show how he has changed, how he is now able to work in this group dynamic, and not only work, excel in it. He becomes who he is supposed to be in this 11th Street Kids group and ends up saving the world. As we follow him into Season 2, he continues this emotional arc, because now that he has found who he wants to be, he has to reckon with his past. He has to realize what he's done, and it kind of is that constant struggle for him. He has to deal with the things that he's done and the respect that he does not have in the main DCU timeline. People think of him as a joke.
What a joke.
They just think of him as this racist superhero who kills people. They don't think of him as an actual hero. So, of course, naturally, he seeks out the second dimension. Also, because Amelia's suppressing her feelings, as she does, he wants to be in a world where he is respected. Turns out to be a blind world. Blind? Because it's a blind world they all cannot see. Anyways, didn't work out there. So what does he do? He comes home after killing his dad from that world, and for all he knows, his brother. Again, he has to face this as he's now built this family. He's now made it in this group, and something still isn't fitting in him. Something is still killing people that he cares about. He thinks it's him. The importance of this season, the point of this season, was Chris realizing that he was loved. Right? He didn't find it with the people out there. He didn't find it from the groups. He didn't find it in the main DCU, right? From the heroes or the general public. He wasn't respected widely as a hero. He didn't see it. He wanted love from Amelia. He didn't feel that. He thought that he was hurting people, so he left. He took himself out of the equation, right? It is not till this moment that Chris truly realizes that he is loved. They come in, they all tell him how much he means to them. And Amelia finally tells him what the boat meant to her.
Of course it did. Asshole, it meant everything.
And in this moment, he realizes that he is loved and that he has changed. It is the most important moment in this series because it finally completes his character arc. Other great things I'll add from this finale, I loved all the stuff on the boat. Even if they were like extended concert sequences, which people were kind of knocking them for, I kind of really enjoyed them. I'm a big Foxy Shazam fan. After hearing the intro, I became a big fan. I started listening to their albums. I love their music, so seeing them on screen, I thoroughly enjoyed. I get that that's not for everybody, but I think it works for a show like Peacemaker when music is so important to the characters and to Chris. And bringing him into this world, bringing Amelia into his rock world, really shows how much he loves her, and taking her to that concert and the things that transpire there. And then at the end, we see that Oh Lord is an Amelia Harcourt song. The thing that has been the intro to this whole season is a song that she loves. Chris dancing to it at the beginning so enthusiastically, and it being the main song for his TV show. Again, it just shows how much he loves her, that he's like embodying her through this music. And I just thought that that's a really cool detail to kind of tie a knot around things for that. The stuff with Checkmate makes me very excited for what the future may hold. I think things like that really build a great ending for these characters, and it gives us kind of the emotional closure we needed for Chris's story and the rest of the 11th Street Kids. Okay, now on to the bad. There is a lot of things that people didn't like, and that I personally didn't really like right after watching it. But after sitting with it, thinking about it, watching it again, I think that there is a few things in here that are a little bit overhated. First and foremost, I have to say the ending is the thing that bothered me the most originally. Putting Chris finally where we want to see him, finally loved, finally happy, with Amelia, with the 11th Street Kids, with Checkmate. He has a purpose now. He's doing what he's made to be doing. And you just take him right out of it. And you put him on Salvation with nobody else there, almost leading him to his death. That sucks as an ending to leave it there, especially if it's just for the end of the series. That's where we're left off. A few things made it better for me. Learning more about what Salvation is as a platform in the comics, as a storytelling device, I think it's very cool as a concept. If you don't know, Salvation was an earlier run of comics from the early 2000s, I believe. It placed characters like Joker and Lex Luthor and other supervillains on an empty planet. Amanda Waller and Rick Flag basically were like, screw it, we don't want to deal with putting these people in prisons, Arkham, Belle Reve, none of it. We're going to put them on this planet. They can deal with whatever they want. They can't get to us. We don't care about punishing them. We just don't want to deal with it. That seems to be somewhat relevant to the story we're trying to tell here, right? That's what Rick Flag Sr. is trying to do. He's trying to just take metahumans, put them on another planet, don't deal with it. First person he does that to, obviously, is Chris. I think, personally, it's because James Gunn wants us to keep Peacemaker in our minds. He doesn't want us to be satisfied with the ending and keep it that way. He wants us to be thinking about Peacemaker. He wants Peacemaker to be very important. He stated that he wants him to be on the same level as Batman in level of importance to the DC universe, which I'm all here for. If you think of Salvation like Jumanji or something like that, Jumanji is the best example I can think of. But not the good Jumanji, the bad Jumanji from like 2016 with The Rock and Kevin Hart. In that movie, Nick Jonas is there, and he's been in the game for like 10 years or something. And so he like shows them around, right? They arrive there and he's like, oh, I know the rules of this. Let me show you. And he's kind of an exposition device, but he's there to like help the players get around the game. I think that's what Peacemaker is going to be for Salvation. I think the next time we see him, he will have been there for a while. It's another world. We don't know how time works there. It could have been only a week for us, but 2 years for him. We don't know. I think he's going to play as a role for these other people who get there, whether that be villains or whether that be heroes. These metahumans who are cast to this world are going to need somebody to help guide them. And I think he's going to become the leader for that. He's probably going to try and get back to the people he loves. He worked so hard to find them. He's not going to give up on that.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
That's right.
And I think he's going to be a driving force for how anyone who gets on Salvation gets off of it. Another thing that I feel like a lot of people are more angry about than I am is Rick Flag Sr. just somewhat losing it for no reason. And I do agree that it is a little jarring. There's a lot of time skips in this episode that kind of left me disoriented. But I think when you really look at it, it kind of makes sense that Rick Flag goes off the walls here. We see in Creature Commandos how this guy isn't exactly by the books when he's on missions. He does a few things that are probably against protocol. And when he is given full power and basically no limits and is working with one of the richest and smartest men in the world with all of his criminal friends, I wouldn't be surprised how influenced he would be to just start abusing the power instantly. Again, we see how he kind of goes off the walls in Creature Commandos. We see that he has these tendencies. And the fact that he's driven by this hatred for Peacemaker, his plan all along was to put Peacemaker there first. So this mixing with his hatred, his, tendency to not really follow the rules and to kind of be this wild card almost. He kind of slips and his mask starts to fall and we get to see who he really is. He's not this hero that we might have thought he was in our first appearances of him. He kind of is this crazy guy who's just trying to grab all the power he can. I think he sees Lex Luthor as this man of tomorrow, and I think he wants to grab a ride. I think he wants a ride to the top with Lex, and he sees Salvation as the way to do it. While the depiction of him with the cocaine and going crazy, I think that was a bit much. I think that was maybe James Gunn kind of getting a little too much in the comedy, silly side of it, where it wasn't really working for what he was trying to tell, because it makes him seem really crazy. But I don't think it's a stretch at all to see him kind of turn evil by the end of this, because it's what we've been seeing all season. He is corrupt. He's very much corrupt. He was fully using this position of power just to kill Peacemaker. Now he found something much more valuable to him, so he keeps Peacemaker alive, traps him there, and now is using this as a ride to the top for power. Again, I think this will be very important in Man of Tomorrow. While we won't see Peacemaker, in my opinion, in Salvation or any of that, we will see Rick Flag and Lex Luthor probably with Superman as they all fight for the future of the DC universe and the future of Metropolis and the government, right? Superman embodies this one thing that's hope and justice and freedom, and he fights for good, and they fight for limiting that, to be honest. Lex wants to get rid of all metahumans, and so does Rick Flag. They're both done with them. They want to take them to another planet. I think that sets up for a very interesting story. And although the characterization wasn't quite there, I think it also works for Rick Flag's journey as we see him sort of slip in every single thing we've seen him in. He starts off relatively good. We see him slip a little in Creature Commandos. a little in Superman. He's kind of neutral in Superman. And then throughout this season, we start to really see who Rick Flag is. The last thing I want to talk about, which I don't think a lot of people are complaining about, but I've seen some complaints about it, so I just want to cover my opinion on it, is the lack of cameos and the fact that James Gunn talked specifically about a big DC cameo. That is annoying. I will give you that. He did say, oh, there's going to be a huge DC cameo, very important, in episode 8. No. Like, were we talking about him? James Gunn? He appeared in the background of one of the scenes. Like, come on. I think he just did it to build hype, but then it built expectations way too high. And it just messed everything up. And I think people got way too excited for this episode, and it kind of ruined people's opinion on it. I think if you go into the episode knowing exactly what it is, rewatching it, you will truly appreciate it more for what it is. It is truly a conclusion to the emotional arc of the 11th Street Kids. And I think the real finale of this season, and the story of this season, is episode 7. Similar to the animated Spider-Man TV show that came out last year. It had that story that concluded in the second to last episode. And the 8th was kind of an epilogue that finished up tying some of the emotional arcs and set up for future projects. I think that's exactly what this did. It was sort of like an epilogue. It concluded the emotional arc of Adebayo and Chris and Harcourt and Economos and Vigilante and all of the 11th Street Kids. It wrapped them up and it finished the story it was trying to tell, and then it set us up for what's coming next. I think that's a pretty good season finale, and I'd be satisfied with it as a series finale, but God, I hope there's more. I love this show. I loved season 2. I would give it a 9 out of 10 personally, and I really, really hope we see more of these characters soon. Thank you everybody for watching. Let me know what you thought of the finale, and if I'm just blinded by the gleam of sweat on James Gunn as he writes beautiful, beautiful scripts for these DC projects. But I'm telling you, I think if you watch it again, you'll like it a little bit more. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Subscribe, obviously, please. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.